Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the San Mateo Police Department, I would like to thank everyone for joining us for Real Talk San Mateo. I am Jeremy Surratt. I'm the Public Information Officer for the San Mateo Police Department, and I'll be your host this evening. This is the fourth year we've been doing Real Talk San Mateo, and over the years, we've covered numerous topics to inform our community about certain things that we just want to get out some messaging. That includes traffic, scams, domestic violence, mental health, and other issues that we feel needs to be addressed. If you are new to Real Talk, I highly suggest that you go to our YouTube channel and review the past episodes that are on there. There's a ton of information on all of those topics from each episode. So for tonight, we're going to talk about school safety. School safety is something that everyone is concerned about. And I know it's kind of a broad topic. So tonight we're going to focus it kind of down to the San Mateo Police Department's Youth Services Unit, and then the San Mateo County's Big Five protocol. And we as much information about the five protocol out as we can. Our speakers tonight, as always, we start off with the Chief of Police, and then we're going to go into Dr. Ben Gonzalez, who is the Executive Director of Safe and Supportive Schools with the San Mateo County Office of Education. Sergeant Tracy Unga with the San Mateo Police Department. Don Scatena, the Director of Student Services for the San Mateo Union High School District, and is also principal of Middle College. And Dr. Christian Rubalcaba, the Assistant Superintendent of Student Services for the San Mateo Foster City School District. And then we're going to end this evening with our Youth Services Unit and with Officer Carlos Basurdo and Officer Allison Adel. At the end of tonight's Real Talk, we'll have some time to answer questions from the audience. So if you have a question, please use the chat bar on Zoom, or if you are watching this on Facebook Live, please email your questions to pdpio@cityofsanmateo.org. And to start off tonight's discussion will be our Chief of Police. So ladies and gentlemen, Chief Barberini.
Thank you, Jeremy. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for Real Talk. Whether you're joining us live or you're watching a recorded segment of this episode, we appreciate you tuning in. As most of you probably know, we host Real Talk every quarter or so here at the police department, and we try to address timely issues or things that are happening in the community. Given the time of year, we're about a month into the school year. School safety is paramount during this time of year, as it is for us throughout the school year. But we thought it'd be a nice time to either educate or remind folks on our approach to school safety here in the city of San Mateo and actually throughout the county. We're going to focus tonight on our strategies in promoting school safety and making sure that we're prepared to respond to any type of incident that may occur at a school. I've been very fortunate to be part of the Safe Schools Coalition in the county for several years and have been intimately involved in a lot of what you're going to hear about tonight, but you're going to hear from experts that are much more well-versed than I am. We have a tremendous panel of experts that I think will make tonight very interesting. So thank you for joining. I'd like to thank Jeremy and his partner Janine for making all of this happen. There's a lot of work that go into these episodes. So thank you very much for all of your hard work. And most importantly, I'd like to thank our panel members. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to speak about a topic that's very important to all of us. So I'm going to get out of the way. I'm going to watch like everyone else, and I hope you find this episode as informative as many of our past episodes. So thanks again, Jeremy. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Chief. So in San Mateo County, we have a safety protocol for all the schools, and is known as the Big Five. Big Five, there's 5 different security measures that are used to keep students safe, and they include shelter in place, drop, cover, and hold on, secure campus, lockdown and barricade, and evacuation. So our first panelist, Dr. Ben Gonzalez, so Ben, if you could please tell us a little bit about yourself, your position, and then how the Big Five kind of started and more about the Big Five.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy, and thank you, Chief Barberini. As Jeremy said, my name is Ben Gonzalez. I'm the Executive Director of Safe and Supportive Schools with the San Mateo County Office of Education. Our department, Safe and Supportive Schools, generally supports the districts within San Mateo County with issues related to attendance, school climate, school culture, and school safety. So there's a variety of programs we sort of operate under that bigger umbrella, but those are the general sort of bigger buckets of services that we support the districts in the county in. As far as the Big Five, a little history on sort of where it came from. As Chief said, it is a sort of an outgrowth of the Coalition for Safe Schools and Communities. In 2012, that was begun as a response to the Sandy Hook incident, and the county sort of undertook this effort to really examine how we as a county can work across agencies and ensure that we're providing the greatest level of service and safety to the students and the individuals within the county. And so the coalition over time developed this sort of protocol. It was first unveiled in 2014. And one of the key components, and I think maybe folks in this county may not realize, I've had the experience of working in a variety of different counties up and down the state of California. And the cooperation and the level of involvement from county agencies, governmental agencies, community partners, school districts, law enforcement, the legal community, the fire department. I mean, it is really a very unique and should be celebrated thing that all of these groups can come together and work on a project such as this to ensure that we have proper safety protocols for our students in the event that something were to happen. So that's where the Big Five comes from. I'm going to talk a little bit about what each sort of component is. But one thing to also keep in mind, it's not a static thing. It's constantly being revisited. As dynamics change, we added pieces around extreme heat. We added, response protocols around high winds, as things that have been happening. And also air quality guidance, as those things have, tended to come up year over year. So we're trying to be responsive. As far as, and as Jeremy alluded to, there are 5 components: shelter in place, drop, cover, hold on, secure campus, lockdown, barricade, and then evacuation. And each one of those components has specific activities or actions associated with them. So I'm going to start with the drop, cover, hold on, actually. And this is sort of that harkens back to the drop and cover exercises that we've all sort of, if you lived in California for any length of time, you're probably very familiar with that. And that is just essentially what you see is students getting into a secure space, generally under a desk or something of that nature, and it's generally in response to like an earthquake. Occasionally it could be a response to a sudden physical event in the area, things of that nature. So that's drop, cover, and hold on. The next one is shelter in place. And shelter in place is generally where students are brought into the classroom. It is generally in response to an external non-human factor. It could be a fire, it could be a hazardous spill, something of that nature, but there's no direct threat to the campus itself from a person. And so really the goal is to just sort of bring the students into the classroom and ensure they're safe. In this particular stage, teaching goes on. We'll try to be as descriptive with the students as we possibly can, ensuring them that they're okay, everything's fine, giving them as much information that we have and is able to be given to them. The next one would be secure campus, and this would be sort of an external issue or emergency that is human in nature. So for example, there might be police activity near a school, right? Or a threat to something close to the school. And that would be where we would go into secure campus. Essentially, the students are brought into the classroom and held there, and a little more of an attention to the external, understanding that might de-escalate or escalate to, you could go back to to the previous one, which is the shelter in place, or it could evolve into the next one, which is the lockdown barricade. That is where you essentially have a direct threat on the campus. And there are sort of three components to that. They are either escape, hide, or protect, defend, depending on what's going on the campus itself. So, students, if there's an avenue of escape that is safe and they can safely exit the campus, they may do that. If not, they hide in any space or place they can get to reasonably. And then the protect, defend is sort of a last resort. If directly confronted, sort of take whatever actions you can with whatever you have to try and neutralize whatever's coming at you. And the last one is evacuation. And this essentially can be a post, or generally is a post, sort of a post-event activity. And that is where you leave the school environment, generally going to a offsite location where we engage in a unification protocol. That is where, as the community and family members come down to be reunited with their students, there's a process that we go through to ensure that the students are going with the right people, and that they're meeting up with their families, and that we're able to sort of get everyone together, get them safe, and get them home in a really timely fashion. So those are the general steps, or the 5 components, and sort of a brief description of what each one of those components entails.
Thank you. So you said like each step is constantly being reevaluated, and it could be changed from step to step. Is that meant to be a fluid thing, so that as the situation evolves, like decisions can be made?
Yeah, and the big 5 is really what I would call sort of scalable and responsive, right? So you can use it to respond to again, smaller, non-human, non-threatening, but external things where we sort of just need to keep people away. And those can escalate. We know that things can escalate sometimes rather quickly. And so you can move into or out of any one of those particular steps relative to what's going on. And we constantly review the guidance that we give, and are adding new guidance as new things emerge. Again, going back to like, air quality, I grew up in the Bay Area, and we never really worried about air quality. We didn't have sort of the wildfires that have been occurring over the last like 5 or 6 years, but now it's a real concern. And so how do we ensure that we're keeping kids safe and in a place where we're not exposing them to things they shouldn't be exposed to in terms of the air quality? And so that's like one of those things that we're constantly evaluating and seeing where we need to add more or adjust. And that's done on an annual basis.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So our next speaker is going to be San Mateo Police Sergeant Tracy Unga. Sergeant Unga, excuse me, is the supervisor of our youth services unit. Sergeant Unga, can you please introduce yourself and then talk about the YSU unit?
Good evening, San Mateo. My name is Sergeant Tracy Unga, and I am the sergeant that oversees our youth service unit here at the San Mateo Police Department. And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for being here this evening as we come together to have a discussion about something that is of the utmost importance to all of us, and that's the safety of our children and our schools. In a time when the well-being of our students and educators is more crucial than ever, I'm proud to speak about the long-standing relationship and partnership that the San Mateo Police Department has had with our San Mateo school districts. For many years, San Mateo Police Department has worked side by side with the school districts and school administrators to build a comprehensive approach to school safety. And one of the cornerstones of this collaboration has really been the San Mateo County Big 5 protocol. This standardized set of emergency procedures has become the backbone of how we respond to threats and challenges within our schools. The Big 5 basically ensures that everyone from students to teachers to law enforcement know exactly what to do in these type of emergency situations. The police department has not only supported these protocols, but also has been instrumental in training the staff, coordinating the drills, and preparing schools to respond effectively to these real life scenarios. I also want to speak to not only have we had a role in helping these roll out these emergency protocols, but San Mateo is a very unique department because we have an entire unit that is dedicated to youth services. And that is, I'm fortunate to be the sergeant over that unit. And it focuses and it's committed to serving our youth within the city of San Mateo. In that unit, we have our Police Activities League that provides opportunity and access for youth through mentoring and enrichment programs, and an extraordinary youth diversion program that strives to divert juveniles out of the juvenile justice system, and a robust and growing Explorer program that we're all very proud of. And then most importantly and exciting is the presence of our youth service officers, formerly known as school resource officers, as a lot of the community recalls that we called them in the past. They create an invaluable relationship with students and staffs at the schools. And these officers are just not there to respond to emergencies. They're there to build trust, listen to concerns, and engage with students on a daily basis. And I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the incredible teamwork that has been created over the years, which is the success of our collaboration would not be possible without the constant dialogue, communication, meetings that we all have. All of us on this call today from each school district, including the county, knows that we come together quite often, and that is a very unique. Not very many police departments and school districts do that in other counties. And so I'm very proud and fortunate to be able to work for a police department that we can come together like we are here tonight.
Thank you. So you mentioned how the YSU unit is different and a little bit more robust than just like a normal school resource officer or something like that you see mainly in different departments. Would you say that the YSU unit is more robust because of all the additional resources that are kind of grouped together into one unit to try to add more resources and more things for the students and the kids of the community to do?
Absolutely. I mean, we're very fortunate to have our youth service officers out in the schools every single day, working together with our school colleagues through both school districts. And we really are able to, provide resources for juveniles and youth in the community, through things like PAL, which is our Police Activities League. And we really just try to meet families and kids and youth where they're at. So whatever it is that they might need, we're there to support and really help the schools provide those services and safety for our students.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, our next panelist is going to be Don Scantana. Excuse me for that. Scantana. He is the Director of Student Services for the San Mateo Union High School District, and he is also the principal of Middle College. Don, welcome and thank you for being here. And can you introduce yourself and speak about your school district, how it utilizes the Big Five and works closely with our YSU?
Thanks for the introduction. So like Jeremy said, Don Scatena, Director of Student Services for San Mateo Union High School District. So our district represents has 6 comprehensive high schools, 1 continuation high school, a middle college, a bridge program, and an adult school program. So 10 programs. We serve 6 cities, and so that's 6 police departments, and we have 4 schools within 4 different police departments. So I say that with 9,000 students, nearly 9,000 students, you can understand how complex it would be if every school had to figure out terms expressions, and naming terms around actions around implementation of a lockdown or active shooter situation, or whether there's a threat in the community. If you left it to everyone's own devices, every department would likely come up with their own terms for each of those. So that brings up the power of having San Mateo County's Big Five protocol. So there's common language going across all schools. I could call a principal or a director in another district. They know exactly in our county, they know exactly what we're talking about. We use the same terminology when I speak to a police officer in Redwood City, or I speak to an officer in Daly City, or our wonderful officers in San Mateo. We have the same terminology. It's super important and makes for our work to be much smoother. So we have sort of the common terminology going on. And so bringing on the Big Five 10 years ago, it feels longer, and it is actually being replicated throughout the state by many other counties. I may be helping the county team as a representative and training some of the other counties, Sonoma County, Monterey County, and others. And it's really exciting work, and that this could help transform the state potentially. And so how it's applicable to our schools practice these. So in our district, in San Mateo Union, our individual schools practice these protocols and the response. More specifically, they practice the drop, cover, and hold, and the evacuation, and the lockdown barricade to a degree, and a fire drill evacuation. So these are practiced 3 times per semester by each school. The first 3 are usually announced, and the second 3 are usually unannounced sometimes, for the most part. And so it allows for us to practice. So we have 6 practices, 2 each for each site. And so students get used to it. It's at different times of the day. There's no way to really practice every situation. So for example, if you were ever going to have a secure campus or a lockdown barricade in the middle of a passing period or after school, really difficult to sort of recreate that situation. And that's why the Big Five also added, like, think on your feet, like get away from the intruder, get away from the incident. So the schools do a great job on instruction, in teaching the students what each of these mean, and it comes to light and happens in reality. A few examples of those that we've had over the years, if you can remember the Napa fires of a few years ago, where we had to actually go into a shelter in place for almost 2 consecutive days. And so the important part of that was the students were inside. They were and protected. We made sure that the students were sheltering, not outside. They weren't having PE classes. They weren't doing their athletic contests, things of that nature. And so shelter in place is probably one of the more common of the Big Five that we use relatively frequently. I would say that we go into a shelter in place pretty routinely, usually in this time period, September, October, and it's usually due to fires and fire danger and smoke. And that's the most common. We have had some other issues of potential gas leaks in the community, things of that nature, over the 10 years of having the Big Five. But smoke is usually the most common one that we've seen from day to day. We practice drop, cover, and hold often, but I still can't remember an actual earthquake in the last 10 years where we actually got under a desk because of the power of an earthquake. But we're prepared for it if and when it happens. The most common protocol that we use, though, is the secure campus. And so that is the one that we're used to. Super important for us to understand the difference between a secure campus and a lockdown barricade. A lockdown barricade almost always is confused with the secure campus. I cannot remember us having, I can only remember maybe 1 instance of a lockdown in the last 10 years, but I can remember 2 or 3 secure campuses each year. For example, a few years ago, we had a person, I believe, with a gun in a creek bed sandwiched between Abbott, Hillsdale High School, and Laurel Elementary. So if you can imagine, that San Mateo PD responding, you got 3 schools inside of an area. Now, none of those schools, the person was not on our campuses. It wasn't on San Mateo Foster City's campuses either, but potentially could be if it wasn't a secure situation. So all the schools went into a secure campus. So that means the students aren't moving around. They're not going from class to class. They're not having a lunch break outside. Everyone stays inside. Teachers continue to teach. Students continue to learn. And it allows for the officers to know that they can focus without having students and staff out and about and compromising their work in the community. And so that, again, was something that probably lasted a couple hours and it was taken care of. But that's just one example. There's been many, many others. Finally, we practice lockdown or active shooter situations, not as often as we used to, because we want to be trauma informed, and it could be very triggering for students. When we actually do, we used to do these really loud and active shooter, reenactments. We don't do that as much anymore, but we do teach them about what a lockdown would look like and how to barricade themselves in. And, unfortunately, we see these events like Georgia and others happening, and our schools are well prepared. So where does San Mateo PD come into this? Well, they're there every step of the way. We have these, oftentimes they have to balance between most of our schools are near an elementary school or near a middle school or both. And so they coordinate with the school districts, they communicate with us, they make sure that the students are safe. Usually they'll recommend you should go into secure campus. Principal gets on and secures the campus. Everyone knows what that means, but there's always a refresher. And then we wait for San Mateo PD to let us know that we need to take the secure campus off. And then there's usually reporting to our community while it's going on. So when a secure campus is in fact happening, we usually report that out to our community, our parents and stakeholders and students right away, so they're aware of it. And then when it's taken off, we let them know that it's been removed. And so evacuation is probably the most common thing that we practice. Most have a designated evacuation spot on campus. We also have off-campus designated sort of reunification areas if we had to evacuate the campus for any reason. We do not practice our evacuation reunification generally, but we know exactly where it's going to go and how we're going to support the sites in that regard. Again, and we do that hand in hand with San Mateo PD. For example, just recently, Beresford Park has been designated as a potential offsite for one of our high schools. And so I think that's about it for the practical use in San Mateo Union High School District.
Thank you very much. What you said about secure campus and the lockdown barricade, those I think we see that on our side also. Those always get kind of interchanged from the students to the parents when we're trying to message that out. What would be like your best answer to educate the parents and the students on, because those are two very different things and very different threat levels to the students in the school and the community around. So how do you go about trying to message that and educate the parents and the students on those two different ones?
Yeah, so whenever we message out, so one, we share the family packet, the Big Five community packet to our families, so they're aware of what it looks like. So there's on the county website, you can see there's different versions, the administrative version of the protocol. There's also a family-friendly one for parents so they can better understand it. We also share that whenever there's messaging, we always share the county website with them so they can see what the difference is. So we're also getting our families used to using the right terminology. Finally, the biggest culprit of actually the misinformation is the news and media. They're the ones that love to say that it's a lockdown because it sounds so much more threatening than that it's a secure campus. So our communications officer, you and your position as a PIO, and the county's PIO, Patricia Love, and others make sure that our media are well versed on our terminology and know the difference, because it's too easy for them to say, well, a lockdown sounds better and we might get more clicks. But that's, that is dangerous, because that means maybe students don't come to school for a week or something because they're fearful, when it really was just an off-campus threat and we were securing the campus. So we educate them whenever the opportunity is, and we make it clear whenever our messaging goes out, when we're in it and when we're out of it, and then the follow-up. And then our PTOs, we make sure there's a moment when we speak to our PTOs. Our principals are well versed. All of our administrators go through Big Five training, so they're all well versed, and all our support staff get the same training. So those are some of the ways that we make sure that the information's consistent, accurate, and terminologies used correctly.
Thank you very much for that. Everyone, let's welcome Dr. Christian Rubalcaba. Dr. Christian Rubalcaba, he is the Assistant Superintendent of Student Services for the San Mateo Foster City School District. Christian, thank you for being here. And can you introduce yourself and then talk about your school district and how do you utilize the Big Five protocol and the YSU?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here this afternoon, this evening. My name is Dr. Christian Rubalcaba. I am, as you mentioned, the Assistant Superintendent of Student Services for the San Mateo Foster City School District. San Mateo Foster City School District serves a little over 10,000 students, preschool through 8th grade. We comprise 21 sites, 17 elementary schools and 4 comprehensive middle schools, including a preschool center. So we serve, a range of kiddos, from ages 4 through 11, approximately. And I just want to start off by just like thanking the youth services unit, Officer Addo, Officer Basutro, and Officer Unga. Our collaboration is just incredible, and the fact that you make yourselves accessible through text and through the phone, in person, like it's just incredible. And on behalf of San Mateo Foster City School District, I just want to give a quick shout out and share our gratitude. With the Big Five training, there's really like different levels of the training that we provide to ensure that our students are safe. In the San Mateo Foster City School District, every child, staff, and community members' safety and mental health is our number one, our top priority. And that's really evident in our strategic plan. So we have wellness goals that are really outlined and include trauma-informed practices, which I know the Big Five support that we get from the San Mateo County Office of Education provides a lot of resources, training, and support that is really offers that trauma-informed practice lens through which we support all students and staff and families. So we kind of start off at the really top, right? Like ensuring that we send representative members of our district to the training of trainers that the county office provides. And there our trainers really receive some in-depth information and understanding of the Big Five so that they become our sort of experts around the Big Five piece. And then we then bring it to our administrators, which is super important. All of our administrators at our beginning of year launch, before students arrive on campus, receive professional development that myself and our department offer, along with our trainers, to really have this really common understanding of what the Big Five is asking of us at the site level and at the student level and at the staff level. And so that's really where we get to dive deep into understanding the Big Five, like the 5 incidents, and then really be strategic about our drill schedule. So we do not walk away from this professional development without every site having a drill schedule with dates and times and the type of drill that they're going to hold on a certain date. And so And this is where we really provide that support to all of our sites so that we're on the same page regarding these drills. And really our approach has been to educate and to come together to problem solve and to figure out efficient ways to provide this training for our site leaders, because they do run a lot of these drills and they're, you know, at the forefront of the planning. After this PD, then, you know, our administrators, you know, ensure staff preparedness at staff meetings when we start welcoming staff. And, you know, this is where they really go into even greater depth about, you know, making, you know, going over the drill schedule, you know, ensuring that it's on everyone's calendar, and then ensuring that they have a very clear understanding on what role they play and what steps they need to take. I do want to say that in the Big Five training from the San Mateo County Office of Education, what I really appreciate, and again, I keep, you know, mentioning this trauma-informed practice component, but it's super important, and I really appreciate that it actually contains language that is age appropriate for our students, and it really lays it out, right? And in our case, there's two categories that really speak to us. It's like the littles, right? The 4-year-olds through like 6 years old. It literally gives you language that is trauma informed, that is age appropriate, that really helps with kind of setting the urgency and the importance of it without over alarming or over, you know, creating that sense of anxiety that, you know, this can potentially cause for some of our kiddos. And so I do want to, you know, appreciate, you know, that level of differentiation and specificity in the training that we receive. It's really high quality. And so, you know, in our site, as part of the staff preparedness, the drill schedules do cover the, you know, fire and evacuation, drop, cover, hold, the lockdown, barricade. Those three kind of have a much more. They're much more pronounced in terms of our of what we practice, but we also, you know, provide education with the other two. Another important part, in addition to staff preparedness and student education, is parent education, and going beyond just, you know, talking to a PTA, right? But actually being culturally responsive and talking to our families who may not understand, you know, who are multilingual learners, right? Who need translated resources, who need these educational pieces in their home language. And so we go kind of the extra step to ensure that our ELACs, for example, our English language learner advisory committees offer this training, because what our goal is to have everyone on the same page. And we do have that lens of like, okay, if there's a language barrier, we're going to meet that need and overcome it by bringing translators and translator support at these educational nights. So it's really just coming together as a whole, an entire community. And you know, I think it's really neat that you know, seeing kids who like in kindergarten or TK, transitional kindergarten, it's like really new to them, right? But we also provide their families with conversational support so that the parents can educate and continue that dialogue at home to sort of normalize this level of preparedness to ensure safety for everyone, and removing that potential for trauma, right? That we want to really lessen. But it's great to see the kids, you know, go from TK kinder, and then by, you know, 6th grade, 7th grade, like they have it down, you know, like they're really educated, they're really kind of on top of it, and they know what step comes next, and then they become kind of agents of change, and they want to contribute to, you know, being on the same, you know, helping the teacher in a classroom, you know, with the steps or whatnot. And so it's really nice to see that level of independence as the kids go through every year.
That's interesting. And as you were talking, I was thinking about that, especially with your the younger students that you have, the kindergarten and, you know, and around that age, how you communicate these different protocols to them without causing trauma or without, you know, doing things like that. And then educating the parents as well of, hey, these are the different protocols and this is what we're doing and this is what this means. So do you find that more difficult, or with the smaller the child is? Because I think as they progress through the schools and they get older and older and they're used to doing these
Mhm.
drills and they get this education for being prepared for whatever that might happen. I think as a parent, you kind of expect it and you get more educated, so it's kind of ingrained in you. But for the younger kids, or for like first time parents or first going through that, that has to be difficult to not only train the kids on what to do in a situation that might occur, but also to inform the parents and educate the parents.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Jeremy. I think, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I would have said, yes, it's a lot more challenging to educate the littles, right? Our 4 and 5 year olds. But I think the training that we receive and the support that we offer our sites and our teams have been a lot richer in terms of resources that we have at our disposal. So it's not uncommon to see, a kinder classroom, right, at the beginning of the year, or when it's drill time, drill week, for instance, right, to kind of prep kids, and they've got literature with visuals, like picture stories ready to go, to really capture, the social scene that we're trying to convey around this idea of safety and drills and breaking it down. So social stories are really key and are important, because it allows the kiddos to really have a level of depth of understanding that I think previously without these resources we would struggle, right? It'd be a lot more challenging. So again, I mean, and, I keep shouting out the county because they've really been really instrumental in offering these resources, and guiding us the right way in an age, this developmentally appropriate manner.
Christian, thank you very much for that. Now, our last panelist, which they're sharing a screen because they're never separated from each other, it seems like, over the last few years. We got Officer Carlos Basurdo and Officer Allison Adel, and of course, the most important person in that group is Rookie back there. So please, can you introduce yourselves and then just talk about what you do in the Youth Services Unit, and just kind of what you do for the students, and how you collaborate and work with the different districts.
First, thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate it. Super excited. I'm Officer Carlos Basurdo,
And I'm Officer Allison Adel.
and
And this is Rookie. I am Rookie's handler.
so first of all, I want to say thank you for both districts and the other panelists for being here. We couldn't effectively serve our community or the schools without the partnership, so really appreciate it. As what we do as youth service officers, it's really a partnership between the city, the schools, the school district, and what we do in that partnership is try to find ways that we can go ahead and provide service to our students and also to the staff. And I think, or I'm sorry, Sergeant Unga touched on a lot of that, so I'll just kind of touch on it really quick and kind of go forward. But some of that stuff is like preventive services, right? Like preventive. We understand that things are going to happen, kids are going to make mistakes. And so to try to go ahead and give them the knowledge or try to provide resources so that we can prevent those things from happening, I think it's one of our first steps. And then restorative, whether it's restorative through like our students, through peers, staff, or families, sometimes it's a holistic thing and it's just involves the whole community. So we try to partner with our schools with that as well. The collaboration that we also have with the schools and the school district and with our students and the families. Some of that collaboration also extends to like Police Activity League, our Explorer program, also San Mateo Consolidated Fire. We all work in conjunction to make sure that our kids are safe and to make sure they have the resources. Also, some of that is empowerment through action. It's actually a program over at Hillsdale High School, which is fantastic. They basically try to set up kids that might have, what would you say, maybe limited resources and try to get them to either go to college, basically trail that pathway for either a career, college, or any other pathway that they see fit, but really trying to encourage them to reach for the stars. Great club, as well as we just started a bike club with Abbott School. So these are kind of the collaboration that we do. We want to make sure that we try to provide all different resources, because we have all sorts of people and cultures in our schools, in our community. Some of the resources that we also provide, like mental health. We work with our mental health clinician here at San Mateo Police Department. That unit is fantastic. They've been with us multiple times to the schools, really trying to help out, our students, and as well as their families. And then also making sure that they continue with those resources or those services after when we leave. So they're great. Homeless outreach as well. We provide resources for that. Preventive interventive services, which Tracy also touched on, the diversion, empowerment through action we talked about. Also, we do presentations. So we do vaping presentations, drug presentations, social media presentations. Again, that comes down to like prevention. And then mentoring. Believe it or not, we that's probably the most we do throughout the day is mentoring. We love doing it. It's great what we do is we a daily basis, we go out to a school. And sometimes we're just there just to visit. We love being there. We love interacting with the kids. And so part of that also is the mentoring portion. Sometimes they just need someone that believes in them. And so if we can provide that.
Carlos, it looks like we audio there for a second.
Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. We're back. Okay, now you can keep going. Just rewind yourself about 45 seconds and then hit it again.
Okay. So we talked about the resources. Sorry about that. And one thing is mentoring. We really love doing mentoring. We go out to the schools. We love being able to be there and being a friend. It's great. Our big goal is to make sure that the kids in the schools are safe. And part of that is, like I said, Big Five, we talked about that. Making sure that we have a partnership, making sure that we work together and we have the knowledge. We are constantly talking to the school district, to our schools, making sure our staff knows the protocol, making sure if they have any questions that we're just a phone call away. We're always there to make sure that they're taken care of. And then I guess the other thing is, like I said, the mentoring thing, but a lot of people think school resource officer or youth service officers, police in the schools, like all we do is arrest. And we rarely do that. Our big thing is again, making sure the kids are safe, making sure we provide those resources for them, and being there in any capacity really that we can. Another thing we talk about is, and Allison will talk about it, is Rookie.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Officer Allison Adel, and this is my four-legged partner, Rookie. So a little bit about Rookie. We actually got Rookie in 2021, and he's the first therapy canine here in San Mateo County. And I don't think it could have been a better timing, especially coming out of COVID, and kids coming back to school. It was a really hard time. And so having Rookie, he's been a great presence on the school campuses. And again, coming out of COVID, we realized that mental health was a big component that we were kind of seeing in the schools, of just everything that, our students, our staff, and families had been through. And so with having Rookie actually comes to campus, all of the schools with us every single day. And partnering with the schools, I created a thing called Rookie's Room. So again, going back to mental health being a big component, I saw the opportunity where students could partner with wellness as well as myself to kind of do what I call like a mental health checkout. So I'm partnering with wellness. Students are able to do what I call like a 15-minute mental health check. So they come into wellness. I'm there with Rookie, and then we're in a room and it has some bean bags and some dim lights, but it's really just a calm, informal environment. And it's where kids can forget about those school stressors, those home stressors, whatever, if it's friends, social, to just kind of check out and hang with Rookie. But the great thing about that is that it also gives me the opportunity to get to know our students on a personal level. Like I said, it's super informal. We have casual conversations. It's generally myself and 3 other students. And we just talk about the things that are going on, how's school, how's home life. It's always great towards the end of the year hearing the seniors talk about where they're applying or where they're going to college. But again, it all comes down to partnership. I'm so thankful to both of the school districts for always welcoming Carlos, Rookie, and I onto campus. You really learn who the dog people are, which is fantastic. And then again, coming out of COVID and Rookie's room, building those relationships with students. We do talk to a lot of kids on a daily basis. And we're very aware that sometimes students don't want to talk to us. But I always tell them, they can always talk to Rookie. Rookie is there for them. Rookie is there to help them and support them. And he really brings a calm, nurturing environment. A lot of times I will have students that will just sit on the ground with him and they won't even look at us when they're talking to us. They'll look at him and they'll just pet him. And so you can really see his presence and his calming effect. The staff also adore Rookie. I think multiple times throughout the day, we hear how happy people are to see him, and sometimes it's just, I needed you so much today, Rookie. I'm so glad that you're here. And another reason that we use Rookie, a lot of times we'll use him in court, whether that's for a student who was maybe a victim of a crime, or perhaps they were of a crime. And sometimes cases will go when they have to go in and testify. And so Rookie will actually go on the stand with them and provide support to them. And the great thing is again, going back to that partnership, is that we know those kids a lot of times because it goes back to the school, of whether it's meeting them on campus, if it's because we had to interview them for a certain reason. So those relationships for us really start at the school. And it's fantastic that we're able to follow them kind of through the process and help them and support them. And even if they have questions about things, they're able to come and talk to us when we're on campus. The kids absolutely adore him. The staff does. And it's great to see how much of a positive effect a dog can have on campus. If I don't have him, the first question people will ask me is, where is he? They see him every single day. We were just at one of the schools earlier today during recess. There was probably like 15 kids surrounding us, just petting him, asking questions. And it's those moments that I love that are super informal. Just getting to talk to kids, them asking for stickers, and them hanging out with Rookie.
So unfortunately, I haven't been to Rookie's room yet, so I'm gonna have to make a trip down there, I think.
You can stop by.
What are 2 or 3 of the biggest I want to say maybe issues or something like that that you guys deal with maybe in the different levels of the schools or something like that?
One we're seeing across probably all between elementary, middle school, and high school is mental health. Vaping is a big one.
Yeah, maybe. And then I would say probably social media. It's huge too.
Being safe on social media
Mhm.
and bullying, that happens a lot on there.
Yep.
And then you mentioned Rookie was the first therapy dog in the county. What kind of training have you and Rookie gone through since you've had him?
Yes, we got him when he was 10 weeks old. And so I'll kind of bring it back to the reason that we picked him. So it was fantastic. They put us in a room with a bunch of puppies. And then from there, we kind of were looking at their temperament. So we picked him based on his temperament, the fact that he was comfortable being touched anywhere, and then his reaction to loud noises, because at the end of the day, I'm a police officer and I still have a job to do. And so knowing that he would be in my environment as a police officer, it was really important that he was okay and comfortable with handling that. And then once he was 4 months, he went to a board and train with our canine trainer, but he only did the obedience side. I think it's important to highlight he's not dual trained in anything. And so he went to obedience for 4 weeks. And then when he was 6 months, me and him had the opportunity to go to Ohio, and we were trained by the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, who was the 6th in the nation to start a therapy canine program and now teaches law enforcement agencies. And that's really getting him, again, used to my environment, but also setting that high bar and that high standard for using him in a forensic interview, because I'm not in the room when a forensic interview happens, and I have to have that trust and confidence in him, as well as in a courtroom. I'm not next to him. He's on the stand with the individual. And then we've also gone down to LA for additional training in Oklahoma. So it's a lot of training.
Okay, one last question I have for you guys. So in the past, I think you've heard a lot about a narrative of we don't want cops on campus, we don't want cops on school and something like that. And everything that you guys mentioned today was all about education and giving classes on vaping and stuff like that. So you see that as your focus, right? Like I've heard you say multiple times, mentoring and education and just connecting with the students. Do you guys see that as your focus of your primary like mission, your primary job?
Yeah, I would say for us, that's our primary job. But you know, sometimes our youth just need someone to listen, or for someone to listen to them. And if we could provide that, we would love to do that. You know, our main goal is not to go out there and to arrest kids or other, you know, people at school. Our main goal is to make sure that we're there for them in any capacity that might be. You know, whether it's mentoring, whether it's a resource, whether it's, you know, find resources for them. Sometimes we get really creative. I know in the past we've sometimes there's kids who maybe not go to school, and we'll be like, hey, we'll get what you want, whether it's Taco Bell or not, to get them to go to school. So whatever we can be, we'll try to be there for them.
Like they say, it takes a village. And so between us, the school districts, the resources, and the partnerships that we have within the community, it's really coming together and talking about how we can best support a student and their family.
Thank you very much. We've received a couple questions, and Sergeant Unga, if I can ask this one to you. Diversion was brought up a couple times, and then I heard PAL. But like, how do those two things kind of factor into getting resources and helping out the students as maybe they kind of make a mistake or they just need something to do?
That's a great question. So in regards to PAL, I'll start with having the youth service officers in the school is really great, because a lot of times they will come in contact with kids who just need some little extra help after school when they're outside of school. The schools are very good at connecting youth that just need mentoring, that need enrichment, or just lack access to things that other kids don't have. San Mateo County is a very expensive place to live, and not all kids get to be on the baseball team or get to play soccer. And so PAL does a really good job at, you know, leveling that playing field and allowing kids access to programs that they wouldn't necessarily have access to. So that's one way that I think that our unit is able to help the youth. And then the other question was on our diversion program, which I touched on briefly earlier. And it's a really amazing program. That when kids, which we all know kids make mistakes, and none of us want to see them enter the juvenile justice system. But there are times that kids do get arrested. And so kids that are arrested for low-level crimes that are generally nonviolent, misdemeanor type crimes, we will offer them a diversion program that is unique to San Mateo Police Department. I believe we are one of the only departments that does have a diversion program. And what that is we will enroll them. They have to agree to it with their parents in a 6-month program where basically they do community service. We bring them in and we provide a wraparound services for them to basically teach them that whatever it was they were arrested for was obviously not good. And so we don't want them to go out and continue that behavior. And it's interesting because we get some kids that in the beginning don't really seem like they want to be there. But by the end, they don't want to leave the program because they've really found a place and a safe space that they've grown. And so those are two programs that we're really proud of here at the police department that are all part of the youth service unit.
Thank you for answering that question. And then I have one more question. If I can get Dawn, if you can answer it first, and then Christian follow up. I'll ask you guys the same question. But with the youth services officers in the schools and giving the mentoring and hanging out with the students and educating, do you find that to be effective as like a collaboration between the school districts and San Mateo Police Department? And then if you had a genie and you could wish for additional things, what would it be?
Let's see. Well, let's see. I'd love to replicate these two here if we could. The relationship and the connection. There's not an administrator or counselor they couldn't name. So it just tells you how active and how much they are a part. They're not on like the district's payroll, but I mean they are as active as any employee we have, sometimes even more active in certain situations. And I mean, it's everything from being at the football game to identify, and it's not just being reactive, it's being preventive. So we appreciate sort of them looking ahead to issues, concerns, whether it's groups of students, whether it's an event that's coming up, an activity that's coming up, certain things that are going on in the community. The communication for me, it's vital. They will get in 11 o'clock at night a text from me, even though they're all off and I'm off, but something came in and we need to sort of have a plan in place. And I know that they have a similarly, they're accessible to our site administrators who are essentially in charge of the safety of the campus. And so I'm happy that we're a district that always has endorsed and appreciated officers being on our campuses.
Thank you very much. And Christian?
Yeah, so I echo what Don mentioned and the others. I think, mentorship is definitely a priority for us. Um, the power of a trusted adult is immeasurable. Every year, as you know, we administer a survey from the California Department of Education called the CHIC survey, right? The California Healthy Kids Survey. And one of the data points that we are constantly kind of revisiting and following and focusing, and there's many data points on there. It's a lot of key data that comes from a survey that our kids take. And one of them focuses on, do you have a trusted adult, right, on campus or in the community? And our goal has been and it will always be to make sure we get to 100% on that survey question, because when a child has a trusted adult, it's not only a preventative measure, right, to steer them in the right direction and keep them from harm's way or keep them away um, from making poor decisions because they lack that trusted adult guidance. But I think it also provides them an opportunity to build a special bond with someone to whom they can look up, right? Someone that they can look up to. And that is a super transformative for our kids. Any age group, you name the age group, and it's transformative for them, right? To be able to say, I trust this person, right? And it's and often is the case that it is a teacher, but sometimes it's, Officer Adel, or sometimes it's Officer Basutra, and that to us speaks volumes about what we're trying to build here in not just our schools and district, but like in the community. And as was mentioned earlier, we've got this bike club event that, we just, was just held, and just the excitement on hearing about, at Abbott Middle School, for example, on this, to me inspires me a lot. And I think it's going to be the beginning of something much larger, and, the beginning of other activities that are really student centered and student based, right, in terms of following their interests and what motivates them, and gets them around trusted adults, right? Gets them around mentors, gets them around something purposeful, right? Like, going and picking up a helmet, right, if you need it, or fine tuning your bike, and doing it with like a trusted members of our community. I think that's really what's really beautiful is to see that the community come together. And so, I absolutely think it's a priority, and I think it will continue to blossom in terms of other engagements that I think this will spark as a result.
Thank you very much, Christian. And that's right. I think it was said earlier, it takes a village, and everyone on here is part of that village. And from the administrators to the teachers to YSU to everyone. And then to the individual cities, because I know both of your districts cover multiple cities. You don't have to say San Mateo's the best. We already know that, but in San Mateo we have the the slow for school program and other things that the city's kind of thrown out there to reduce speeds, and we partnered with your district for the bike rodeo, and I think in part of that village, the more we can educate, the more we can prepare the students and get them to make the best decision for them, the safer all the students are going to be, and the more prepared and the more comfortable the parents are going to be for everything. So I'm going to close it out tonight. One last shot. Does anyone on the panel have anything to say? Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for being here tonight, taking the time out to come together so that we can all talk about the very important, conversation that is the kids of the community and the students and everything like that. From the Big Five program, I know I've been to a couple of the trainings. They're fantastic, and for that to be the umbrella that we all can speak the same language and take care of the kids in our community the same way and educate everyone is fantastic. The school districts, I know I work closely with your guys's communicators and how closely that our department with YSU work together with your districts is fantastic, and it just makes for a better community and a safer community, and we appreciate everything, and thank you for being here tonight to educate more people and spread some more love around to everyone. So thank you very much, and everyone have a good night. Okay, so, oh.